Listen, your runaway caravan. Now, we all like to put our foot down on an open road, don't we? Feel the wind in our hair, the engine roar. But there's a time and a place for that, and it's not on a crowded highway with a 70 miles per hour speed limit. This next clip, well, it's a prime example of what happens when you confuse the Autobahn with the M25. This chap in the BMW obviously thinks he's in a Fast and Furious movie, weaving through traffic like a caffeinated ferret. Problem is, in real life there's no rewind button, and when you're travelling at warp speed, even the slightest mistake can turn your car into a mangled mess of steel and regret. Remember folks, speed limits aren't suggestions. They're there for a reason, and that reason is to stop you from becoming a human projectile. So, slow down, take a chill pill and arrive in one piece. Right then, you lot, buckle up for this one. Some bright spark decided to treat their car like a tumble dryer, and let me tell you, the results are spectacular. This, my friends, is what we call a rollover, and it's a perfect storm of bad decisions and even worse driving. Now, I'm not saying this driver was a complete pillock, but, well, let's just say they clearly missed the memo on the laws of physics. See, cars, especially those top heavy Chelsea tractors, aren't designed for impromptu aerial displays. You take a corner too fast or swerve like a startled badger and you're asking for trouble. And trouble, as you can see, is precisely what they found. Round and round she goes like a dog chasing its tail, except with more broken glass and twisted metal. It's a miracle anyone walked away from this one, frankly. This, my friends, is why we have speed limits, and common sense, and possibly a stiff drink after watching this footage. So remember kids, keep it slow in the corners, unless you fancy starring in your own demolition derby, and even then, I'd recommend a helmet and maybe a good lawyer. The humble intersection, a place where drivers gather, blink their indicators in utter confusion, and occasionally, just occasionally, engage in a bit of vehicular ballet. But this, my friends, is more like a car crash opera, and trust me, it ain't pretty. We've got two contenders here, both vying for the coveted "whose fault is it anyway" trophy. First up, we have the blur in the blue car, treating the red light like a suggestion rather than a legal requirement. And coming in from stage left, we have the unsuspecting soul in the silver saloon, probably humming along to the radio, blissfully unaware of the impending doom. Bang! Just like that, metal meets metal in a symphony of crunching steel and shattering glass. I'm surprised that there weren't feathers and a puff of smoke, because that was a direct hit. This, my friends, is why we have traffic lights, and also why it's probably a good idea to look both ways, even if you think you have the right of way. Remember folks, red means stop, green means go, and amber, well, amber means floor it and hope for the best, apparently. Just kidding, please don't do that. Now, I like a good lorry as much as the next bloke. They're big, they're powerful, and they haul all the important stuff around, like chocolate biscuits and those little umbrellas for your cocktails. But even I have to admit they can be a bit of a handful on the road, especially when driven by someone who thinks they're in a Fiat 500. This, my friends, is a prime example of what happens when you don't respect the sheer size and stopping distance of these behemoths. We've got a lorry driver who clearly skipped the chapter on braking in his HGV handbook, and an unfortunate soul in a hatchback who's about to have a very bad day. It's like watching a rhinoceros trying to play hopscotch. It's not going to end well, and indeed it doesn't. The car is transformed into a mangled mess of metal, while the lorry driver probably just needs a fresh cuppa and a stiff upper lip. This, my friends, is your reminder that lorries are not to be trifled with. Give them space, be patient, and for heaven's sake don't cut them off unless you fancy being the filling in a metal and rubber sandwich. Right, here we have it, the quintessential white van, driven by a man who's clearly late for a very important date, with a bacon sandwich, judging by the state of that dashboard. And is that a load of bricks back there? Oh no, it's worse. It's garden gnomes. Hundreds of them. Now, I'm not saying that gnomes are inherently dangerous, but if you've ever tried to move a collection of those little fellows, you'll know they're heavier than they look. This bloke's clearly overloaded his van, which means his centre of gravity is about as stable as a giraffe on roller skates. And what happens when you take a corner too fast in a van full of gnomes? You guessed it, you end up looking like you've just lost a game of Jenga with a cement mixer. Remember folks, overloading your vehicle is just asking for trouble. It's like trying to stuff a whole roast turkey into a sock. It's not going to end well. Ah, motorbikes. Those two-wheeled temptresses of speed and danger. Now, I'm all for a bit of spirited riding, but this chap's pushing his luck. Look at him, weaving through traffic like he's auditioning for Cirque du Soleil. He thinks he's found some magical gap in the space-time continuum, but what he's actually found is the back end of a very surprise Volvo. It's a classic case of lane splitting gone wrong. Remember, folks, just because you can fit your bike through a gap the size of a postage stamp doesn't mean you should. Motorbikes are practically invisible to most drivers. It's like they're coated in vanishing cream and bad decisions. So my advice to all you bikers out there is this: ride defensively, assume every car is driven by a blindfolded orangutan, and for heaven's sake, invest in some decent protective gear. Well, wouldn't you know it? It's raining cats and dogs out there, and this genius has decided to treat the motorway like his own personal slip and slide. Look at that, he's hydroplaning all over the place, completely out of control. Honestly, it's like watching a hippopotamus trying to ice skate. The first drops of rain, people, that's when the roads are at their most treacherous. All the oil and grime from months of commuting gets lifted up, creating a surface slicker than a buttered penguin. And what do people do? They carry on driving like they're on a sunny day out to Brighton. Listen, when the heavens open, slow down, you bunch of numpties. And for crying out loud, check your tyre tread. If they're more worn than my jokes, you're one raindrop away from a date with a ditch. Remember, water is the enemy of grip, and grip is the only thing keeping your car on the road and not wrapped around a lamppost. Right, listen up, you lot. Driving on a normal day can be a bit of a lottery, but throw in some slippery conditions and you've basically entered a demolition derby. We're talking oil spills, wet leaves, the odd banana peel. All right, maybe not that last one, but you get the picture. But the real villain here, the silent assassin of the asphalt, is black ice. It's invisible, it's unpredictable, and it can turn your car into a toboggan faster than you can say Richard Hammond's crash helmet. You're driving along minding your own business and suddenly, bam, you're sideways, facing the wrong way, wondering what in the bloody hell just happened. And that's when the real fun begins. Because chances are some poor sod in a Vauxhall Corsa is coming the other way, completely oblivious to the ice rink you've just discovered. And then it's a symphony of crunching metal, shattered glass, and probably some colourful language that would make a sailor blush. So, what's the lesson here? Well, for starters, slow down when the roads are slick. And I don't mean just a little dab on the brakes. I mean channel your inner grandma and drive like you've got a boot full of nitroglycerin. Trust me, it's better to arrive late than in a body bag. You know, they say humans are the most intelligent species on the planet. But then I see someone texting while doing 70 on the motorway and I start to have my doubts. Listen, I like a good gadget as much as the next bloke, but when you're behind the wheel of a car, your phone should be as off limits as a nun at a stag party. Because here's the thing, driving a car requires your full attention. It's not like making a cuppa or stroking the cat. You've got a ton of metal hurtling along at lethal speeds, and even a split second of distraction can be the difference between arriving safely and ending up as a smear on the tarmac. And what are people so engrossed in, you ask? Checking Facebook, tweeting about their breakfast, sending angry emojis to their ex? It's utterly baffling. Look, I'm not saying you can't enjoy the wonders of technology. Just do it when you're not piloting a potential death machine. Pull over, send your texts, update your status, and then, when you're done, put the bloody phone away and drive with the focus and attention your car deserves. Otherwise, you're not just risking your own life, but the lives of everyone else on the road, and that, my friends, is just not cricket. And trust me, you don't want that on your conscience. Now, I like to think of myself as a reasonably handy chap. You know, I can change a tyre. I once even managed to jumpstart a tractor with a potato and some jumper cables. But even I wouldn't dare to drive a car with dodgy brakes or a dodgy gearbox. This, my friends, is what happens when your car decides it's had enough. Could be anything, really. Maybe the engine threw a rod. Maybe the brakes decided to take a holiday. Who knows? Point is, it's not pretty. It's like watching a hamster try to outrun a cheetah. And the worst part, you can't exactly pull over for a quick how to search on your phone, can you? You're at the mercy of whatever bits of metal are still hanging on. So, word of advice, take care of your car and it just might take care of you.